Okay, so hello everyone. We will begin right on the hour. Meanwhile, while you guys are settling in, you can drop your role and where you are joining from in the chat box, and we'd love to hear it from you. While people are still coming in, let me tell you about And Academy, about who we are, what we do, and how today's session fits into your learning journey. So we are And Academy, and for those who are new here, we are an online design upskilling school focused on turning beginners and professionals into job-ready designers. We run part-time courses and full-time courses in the domain of UI UX design, graphic design, and interior design, with pathways that run through roughly from 5 months to 14 months, depending on where you start and the depth you choose. So we have we start from certificate, which is for like 5 months, and we run courses in like PG diploma, so it goes for around 14 months as well, depending again on the kind of course you are choosing. Uh, Moving on, here's why people choose And Academy. So you get all the studio energy of like collaboration, critiquing, sharing ideas, but without the need of relocating or commuting. So first would be our design pedigree. We are niche backed by IIAD, one of the India's leading design institution, which has been in the design education industry for more than a decade now. And that partnership has given us a strong academic foundation and a creative legacy. And we are really proud of the connections that we have, because it means that our programs are built on the same principles of design thinking and rigorous studio learning that IID is known for. Uh, our courses are industry relevant, so you learn what design teams actually use in the field, not like outdated theory. You'll work on real world projects, get mentor and peer feedback, and you graduate with a proper market ready portfolio that speaks for you. And so when you speak about like how online courses are, it can get boring. These are all like pre-recorded classes and stuff, but this is not exactly, or like not even close to what we do at And. We have live interactive online classes, and these are all collaborative, so you are collaborating with your peers on different platforms like Miro board and stuff, and like you can give feedback to your peers can give feedback to you on the work, on the kind of work you're doing. You are collaborating on a project, you're working with different people from around the country. So uh, and like you will be brainstorming and critiquing and co-creating and like co-working on a single project as well. So that's how you like get hands-on experience, and like think, and you start to like think like a designer, not like just like softwares, because softwares can be like taught anywhere. So mentorship for us is actually the key. Our mentors are not just like instructors, they are proper practicing designers, art directors, and creative strategists from industry. um, and they'll be giving you real briefs, real processes, and real challenges in every class you walk in. You will work on lifestyle projects, receive direct feedback, and build a portfolio that's professional and not just like academic. uh, and when you're ready to take your next step, our career support team guides you all the way through portfolio reviews, mock reviews, interviews, mentorship sessions, and placement opportunities. And we also offer job guarantee on our select programs. Um, and here's what the learners have been like. In just like 3 years, we've grown into a thriving community of over 1,500 learners mentored by 50 plus industry experts. We've built an Instagram community of 65K design enthusiasts sharing inspiration and student work. We've built 200 plus industry connections, and we maintain a 4.6 Google rating. In just 3 years, we've helped transform over 500 careers. So behind like every number, there's a story of someone who has decided to grow creatively and design a better future for themselves. Um Moving on to why we are here today. Kaleidoscope is a series where we invite design leaders and creative practitioners to lead a masterclass like this one. These sessions are designed to spark ideas, share real world insights, and show design thinking that can shape your career and your life. Before we start, a few quick checks. You can use the chat box to engage and share your thoughts, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session uh, towards the end of the session. So you can drop your questions in the Q&A box that you see below the screen, and we'll take them from there systematically. Let me introduce you to Miss Vandana Dhawan Saxena. She's the founder and design principal of Studio 4 Designs. Vandana is an award winning interior designer with over 20 years of global experience across India and the US. She's a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Scholar, a lead accredited sustainability professional, and a graduate from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and NYU Shack's School of Real Estate. Her studio has led design projects for some of the most respected brands in the hospitality and corporate architecture, including Taj Hotels, Marriott, Hyatt, IHG, Sheraton, and Ernst Young, across hotels, resorts, workspaces, retail, and wellness spaces. Her work has been recognized by multiple national and international awards, and her design philosophy centers on authenticity, clarity, timelessness, creating places that feel rooted in culture and purpose. Welcome, Vandana. Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you to all the participants who joined in to listen to us today. To me today, in fact. So I'll be happy to start the session now. Okay, I hope the screen is visible to everybody. Please let me know in case there's any issue later.
It's visible. It's visible. Yeah.
Okay, I don't see anything on the screen, so just give me a second. Yeah. So we are doing a wonderful topic today called the power of narrative in interiors, crafting clarity in cluttered environments. So this is something that's close to the heart of most designers today because this is what helps us distinguish our work from one another. So just a little bit about me first. She's given me a great introduction. Thank you so much for that. I founded Studio for close to 14 years back. We are a Gurgaon-based practice, and we work across various domains of architecture and interior. We primarily focus on designing hotels. We have designed close to 60 hotels till date in the country. And we continue to do various other projects this year as well. Besides that, we've also done commercial offices and residential spaces and some retail spaces as well. As part of our hospitality work, we've done a lot of restaurants as well. So that's me. I've studied both in India and abroad and have worked in both the geographies and also worked in the corporate with the Big Four consulting firm, which is very atypical of an architect. So I have a varied mix of experiences that have shaped what I do today and the decisions I take today. So that's a little bit about me. Moving ahead to the topic. When we think about narratives don't stand in isolation. Spaces are designed for people. So when you see this photograph on the screen and everybody's discussing Shah Rukh Khan today, it's his 60th birthday, in this week. So if I may ask you to tell me, what does he stand for you? I mean, he's a superstar. What does he mean to any of you? If you could put your answers in the chat box. Can you read the answers? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone
So people are saying
romance.
romance.
Yeah. So, that's the brand he's made for himself. He's a romantic hero.
Someone
Shubham says he's humble. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll move ahead. So, yeah, he's smart, humble, romantic, yes, very versatile and dynamic as an actor. And he's one of the few actors who's been in vogue now for close to 30, 40 years, or perhaps more. I think he started his career in his early 20s, so close to 40 years, in fact. I mean, he's celebrating his 60th birthday. So, why is he so iconic and how has he built his brand? So, whenever we talk of brand building, we talk of what people think of you when you're not standing next to them or when you're not in the room with them. That then becomes the brand that you are or a space is. Likewise, similar to Shah Rukh Khan, how do we ensure that we create a space that speaks its story without us having to explain what that space stands for? And that is the critical question we shall deliberate over and answer today. How do you create that space that tells its story to its customer or to its guest or to the resident who lives there? Okay, you see another image on your screen. What emotion is this evoking in you?
People are saying passion, retro,
Okay.
artsy.
Is this space making you happy? What is it? What is the emotion it's evoking in you? If I may ask you a deeper question. Let's see what's everyone saying. It's telling some stories, happy.
Funky, thoughtful, yeah, happy. It's
Okay.
got some stories.
Okay. So you are all happy to see this space. So even though there is a lot of clutter in this space, but it is an organized clutter. There is still a focal point. There's an artwork that draws your attention as you look at it. And then you perhaps look at the bed with its bright red color and its poster format. And then, your eye sort of goes on to the other artwork and then the organized shelving of books under it. Okay. So it is trying to convey something to you. Let's move ahead. Okay, so this is a hotel in Ahmedabad. If I may ask you the same question again, what emotion is this evoking in you? Alienation. Okay.
Royal.
Okay, someone's finding this royal as well. Okay. Okay. So in my language, so this is just to give you a little bit of a context. This was how this hotel looked in up till 2017, till we got hired to redesign this space. And when we went into this space, even though things were, well maintained, they looked neat and clean, it did not tell us a story of being in the city where it stood. So it looked like a generic hotel. It was nice, it was pleasant to the eye. It served its guests in the right way. But as I said before, it looked generic. It could have been anywhere. It could have been in Delhi, it could have been in Mumbai, it could have been in any tier 2 city, any tier 3 city, or perhaps even abroad. So, what did we do? We went out into the city of Ahmedabad and walked the streets and found our stories and zeroed in on some of the things that interested us. Uh, our site was close to the old walled city of Ahmedabad. You can see the image on the bottom. Very monotonal, same color, boxes stacked one above the other, dense, and one single use of color. And then you have the famous Adalat stepped wells. These again were very close to our hotel. Tiered, they had a purpose. They were helping in conserving water, collecting it, and making it accessible for times when you needed it. And then the city bursts into color when it's time for celebration. So people bring out their traditional dresses. Gujarat is also famous for its Patan Patola and Rajkot Patola saris. So the mix of the handloom and the craft, and then when the Makar Sankranti festival comes, everybody's flying kites from their terraces in the old city, and there is this there is this very striking use of red, pink in the attire that they wear around the festivals. So we decided to take this as our inspiration and turn this property around using this inspiration for the interiors, and we created this. We created a space that was tonal, gray on gray with gray flooring, a wall inspired by step 12s, which you see on the right hand side, which is very popular as a lot of people love to click their photographs here. And then you see these doors, which sort of are in the vista as you walk in. And they remind you of abstracted kites. You almost start imagining kites flying in the sky. So this then pulled from our mood board of what we summed up as our narrative of the city and got translated into a design for the hotel. And then of course we built on this. Then you see a little bit of ikat come into the carpet there. And then you see the chandelier above. That for us was an interpretation or a reinterpretation or an abstraction of threads from which a kite is hung or is used to, sorry, not hung, but is used to fly a kite. That of course is made in blown glass. And the entire periphery of this lobby space was in different tones of gray. And why gray? Because we took that as our tone on tone color to mimic the walled city. Yet, it was highly textured. It was changing in pattern, contrasting in, creating a play of light and shade. And this is what we used to create the entire shell of the space, in which sat these accented colors of magenta, pink, which told, stories and pulled the guest into the focal elements and the focal points we wanted to pull them into. And this then translated into creating a lobby cafe. And Ahmedabad is not a hotel that can, I mean, Gujarat is not a state that can serve alcohol. So we needed a pivot point in the hotel where guests could be served food and drink to activate the lobby. So you can see that that entire stepped well inspired wall is turning into this lobby cafe, and that then connects to the outdoors. And then there is again a juxtaposition of jalis that are again inspired by the city but presented in a very modern format. So this is how we uh, changed a very generic looking design into something which was very distinctive, meaningful, and which related back to the city, but not in a literal way, in an abstracted way, in an avant garde way. So, this is one of the transformations we did early in our career. And of course, as I said before, we created a consistent and distinctive space. And this sort of box that we created for ourselves was a box we tick marked against as we designed every space of this hotel, be it the guest rooms, be it the guest corridors, be it the restaurant spaces. Specialty restaurants, not so much, because those are spaces that pull from the cuisine they serve. But most of the public spaces that are frequented by the guests, check marked against the big narrative box that we had sort of decided to put for ourselves. So if I may ask you, what does this space now feel like to you? Be kind, please. Okay. What's the time right now? Okay. Someone saying vibrant. Wow. Okay. Okay, we'll move ahead now.
Elegant.
Okay. So these are the topics we shall cover ahead. When we're talking of a design narrative, what do we really mean? Why does it matter to all of us? And how do we achieve this whole? What is the process of creating a narrative or to create an impactful story? So, what is a narrative in design? When we say narrative in design, we mean designing with purpose, with an intent in mind. And anything can define your purpose or your intent. It can pull from anywhere, from any inspiration, from what story you want to tell. So that narrative that you want for your space then becomes that spine for your space. It's like your backbone that's holding everything together. It is that thread in your space that will tie, the pluses and the minuses. It will be that thread that will be that common thread that will go across your entire design. And as these set of intentions come together, they create a flow of multiple intentions that will then create a story. So it's not that if I thought of a kite in the lobby, going back to the previous example, I will keep talking about the kite as I move into different parts of the property. And a hotel is it's a large project. So if you're designing, say, a restaurant, you might want to stick to one aspect of the city. But if you're designing a hotel where you're talking of multiple spaces that will come together and create experiences for the guest, you might want to talk about different aspects of that city in different parts of the hotel, yet have that thread that binds all these aspects together. And that is when that story will have a certain flow of emotion and it will feel consistent and cohesive. So as I said before, when you design the narrative, you are designing the DNA of your brand for that project. So every project that you're designing, you have to look at it as, you're creating a brand for your client. So what is that DNA or that thread which is going to be unique to that brand? So if you talk about ourselves, we say we all have a unique DNA. This is our unique stamp. Nobody else can have the same DNA as us. So we have to make that effort to make sure that the property that we design should have its own brand DNA, so that it doesn't look like it looks like anything else. It could have certain inspirations, but there should be this defining moment in it which segregates it from something else that you have seen before. So if you see what's on the slide here, and this happens to be fashion, and I think today in the domain of art and design, nothing stands in isolation. Everything sort of merges. You see graphics, you see menus, you see food, you see uniforms, you see people dressed a certain way. So every guest touch point is going to contribute to your story. So if you look at what the woman's wearing here, it presents a very India modern outlook. It pulls the fabrics from Banaras, yet it is used in a very contemporary way. So it gives it a unique DNA. So it's not that a Banarasi textile is what you have invented, but you have taken that textile and reinvented its use, or used it in a clever way, or made it your own. So once you define your brand DNA and you use those, values throughout your space, you are able to then create an experience that is consistent and that feels cohesive, as I spoke of before as well. So you see two examples here on the screen, and these are both projects that we've done. What you see on the left is the office we designed for Ernst& Young. This is a large corporate campus for them. What you see here is a calm yet engaging and vibrant space, which has a sense of timelessness and sophisticated sense of being sophisticated to it. So there is a very strong visual appeal here, with the art almost drawing you in, and the sculptural staircase, wanting a guest to sort of climb up. Whereas if you see the slide on the right hand side, this is a lounge we designed in Siddharth de Goa, Taj Siddharth de Goa. Here, more than the materiality, it evokes a sense of emotion. You get this sense of wanting to be laid back, get a sense of being relaxed and wanting to connect to the sea. So the whole sense of wanting to be in Goa is heightened when you are in a space that looks like this. So, narratives can, so what I'm trying to say is that narratives have two aspects to them. They might look a certain way, but they're also supposed to feel a certain way. And we in today's day and age, we're all very focused on imagery, on how a space clicks when you photograph it, how it appears, or how will it look on your Instagram page or on your website. But what is perhaps more important is how will a person who walks through that space or who is in that space feel when he's in your space? Will he feel like he belongs to that city? Will he feel like he's in a space that's different to any other city that he's been to? And I'm talking in specific to say, the context of a hotel. Say, for example, if you go to a restaurant, sometimes you see these gorgeous photographs of restaurants that are designed really well, but you go to these restaurants and you start feeling a little claustrophobic. You want to leave the space quickly. So I think both aspects are very important when you are designing, both the visual as well as the emotional. It's important to design for both and to touch upon both when you're thinking of what your narrative is. How do you want your guests to feel is as important as how do you want your space to look. Why does narrative matter? Um, you know, as I said before, it helps us differentiate what we are creating in a very crowded visual and emotional market today. And what are our tools to help create that differentiation is something we will talk about ahead. But before I get into that, we tend to say that if we are designing for a city, the spaces should draw inspiration from the city. So what you see here are two examples of two different hotels built in Japan. One is the Aman Hotel in Tokyo on the left hand side, and what you see on the right hand side is the very iconic W Hotel in Osaka. Both these hotels happen to be in Japan, yet they feel very different to each other. Uh, could you give me adjectives, maybe perhaps to describe the hotel on the left first? Um, I hope everyone's awake. So, anything to describe the hotel on the left first?
Organized,
Organized,
formal,
formal, edgy. Okay, I would say edgy would be more the right hand side. Uh, business like.
business.
Okay, clean. Okay, and if we were to describe the hotel on the right hand side now, eccentric, vibrant, vibrant. Bit edgy as well, perhaps. Experimental, great. Okay. So just to understand, firstly, why do these two hotels have such a different approach to design while they are designing almost within the same regional context or influence? So Aman as a brand stands for designing spaces that are peaceful, that draw very closely to the nature and the craft context of the city, and they are mostly for the age bracket which is above 40 years. So for people who are not looking for something that's very edgy or experimental, they want a more toned down experience, they want to feel connected and rooted to nature. So that is what the hotel on the left is trying to do. This image perhaps feels a little dark, but mostly Aman hotels, when you enter them and you're in them, you feel very connected to the property. You feel very connected to the context and to the city you belong to. Yet you feel very peaceful and calm when you're in such properties. The image on the right hand side, which is the W hotel, is W hotels are designed for millennials and people in the 30s, early 30s till the late 30s, early 40s. You will generally not find people in the 50s and 60s preferring to go to a W. These hotels happen to be very avant-garde in nature. They push you to experience the highs and lows together. So there is always this contrast that you will feel that someone's pulling you to in two different directions, wanting you to experience the softness along with the hardness, the a little bit of the edginess. They want to tell stories of the city in an abstracted way. So as you can see, you can easily see that the ceiling is inspired from origami. There are these folds there, which again is very reminiscent of what the Japanese culture is about. There is use of the iconic red, which correlates back to the Southeast Asian culture. Then you can also see that the triangles are translating in design on the floor. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not always the context that defines the space, or of course they are both responding to the context, but they are imbibing the context in their own way. So from the context, you have to pull the pulse of what you want to design. That becomes critical if you are trying to define your brand DNA. So you can say, oh, I'm designing in Japan, so I will have a Southeast Asian aesthetic. But that aesthetic can come forward or can be put forth in multiple ways. So there can be multiple signature styles to deliver that message of wanting to be contextual. So this is just a food for thought for you. Next, as we move ahead, now what you see on your screen are actually two W hotels. The one you see on the right hand side is the W in Osaka, as I said before. And what you see on the left hand side is the W in Dubai. This is the W Mina Siahi. So now again, the point I'm trying to make here is that now you have two very similar hotels. They both have the same brand on them. They're both Marriott brands, the W iconic brand of theirs. Yet again, they look very different. So what are we trying to gauge from this now? That within a brand as well, and why are they looking different? Of course, they're sitting in two different contexts. They're in two different cities, but again they don't have similar signature elements. They are both iconic in nature. They are both trying to tell stories of their cities, but they're trying to tell them in very differentiated ways. We've already spoken about the one on the right, but the one on the left is trying to talk of how Dubai, from being rooted in its tradition earlier. So if you see, look at the flying carpet, you can see that it was rooted in its tradition and it's now transforming into into a very bejeweled sort of a look. So that is sort of reflective of what the city has become today. It is a city of dreams for many. People come from various countries to settle down in Dubai to make a living for themselves. It offers this very bright future to people. So it is trying to celebrate both aspects of being in Dubai and tell stories of its past while celebrating its present in its own unique way through its own unique palette of materiality. So if you walk into this property, say perhaps in the future, it also ties its stories to the viper snake. So if you can see the hint of the flooring on the left hand side, that entire bisaza pattern is actually very similar to the skin of a snake, of a viper snake. And there are various such stories of the city of how you see the in the old Arabian times, when they would walk in the sand dunes, they were guided by constellations and stars. So if you walk in the guest corridors of this hotel, what you really see are just these constellations and stars, and these are really dark corridors. So those stories are told in various ways as you walk through various parts of this hotel, yet they are of Dubai. They belong to a certain brand DNA and to the DNA that was defined by the designer when he designed this hotel. So within the same brand, you can tell unique stories. Uh, Even though you have similar layouts, you can have very distinctive looks and feels because you have designed different narratives for those projects or properties. So, the narrative is the reason why we remember a place, why we feel a sense of belonging to the place, and why we want to continuously go back to that space or not go back to that space. It could be both ways. So, if it's a story that's told well, it evokes the right emotion in you, or in your guest, or for whoever you're designing, and it hits the right chords, then for sure the guest is going to relate back to that place and want to go to it and remember it for all the good things that it had to offer. So, what is this framework for building a narrative, and how do we arrive at it? Everyone could have their own way, but just some pointers that I would like to give out. So, what is this blueprint? How do you translate a story into a space? Three distinct elements: context, which we've harped on a lot in the previous slides. Context means the geography that you're building in. Now, geography, it's up to you how wide you want your lens to be. So, if you were to take, say, a microscope and look through it, it depends on you how far back you want to go or how deep you want to go into it. So, for me, my geography could mean the entire state, it could mean the entire country, it could mean the city, or it perhaps could just mean a kilometer around my site. And that's completely up to you or to your client or whoever the stakeholders are, to what context means to them. But there must definitely be a context or a context box that you want to design within. So, again, as I said before, it depends on the stakeholders on how they want to define their context, but it's imperative that we define what our context means to us. Context also doesn't just mean the geographical site, it also means studying the climate. It means studying, the neighboring buildings around you and how that impact the light quality of where you are designing. It also depends on, so for example, if you're designing a corporate office, uh, and if you're say, and I'm moving a little bit towards architecture right now, where are you placing your fenestrations? How much of natural light will you be able to get into your space? Because people are generally happier in spaces that are well lit. So if you don't have a naturally well lit site, what are you doing to counter that? How deep in are your spaces from your fenestrations, etc. Again, when you are designing, you're not only designing inward looking spaces, your space is also going to interact with what's outside. So what are your views like? Where are your views? Are you asking all the right questions or not? So all of that defines your context and creates meaning for you. So these should become pointers for you as you design. You should be like, okay, this is where my view is. This is where the light is coming in from. These are little scribbles that should start going on your sheet as you design. And then as you start defining the part of the city that should influence your design, you sort of draw that on your map and say, okay, this is the circle that should influence my design, and I'm not going to look at anything beyond that. So that you can narrow your lens down to what that context should be for you. Then insight. How do you gain insight? You gain insight through various methodologies, through your research, and we will come to that. How can you do your research? What is the right way to do your research? And the more you research, the more you have clarity on what does that context really mean. So sometimes, we look at images online and we feel that we understand the city, and then when you travel to these cities and you start walking the streets, you start eating the food there, you suddenly start thinking to yourself, oh, I had seen all these crazy pictures on Instagram that were conveying a very different meaning of the city to me. But when I walked the city and I breathed it and I ate the food there and I interacted with the local community there, I felt very differently about that place. So your insights will come to you in various ways, and what you do with it, and how much you research, and what you do to gain that clarity is again up to you as a designer. So, what is going to be our methodology around that, or what could be our methodology around that, is something also that I will talk about ahead. And then, when you've done all of this, you sort of define your box that will help you create that sense of distinction or give you that sort of framework to operate within. And I'll talk about this ahead as well. So going back to some of the, I think I'll come to this point later. Okay, so I said that there are various ways to gain clarity on what your context feels like, and typically these are the things that we would do as a practice. We will physically transport ourselves to where we are designing. So, for example, if I'm designing in, I don't belong to Delhi and I'm designing in Delhi, I'll perhaps come in and explore this city and walk the streets. And now, it's confusing. So Delhi is a very large context for someone who comes in for a day or two. So again, I'll ask myself this question, that where is this project of mine sitting? And perhaps on a map, explore what are the key areas that I want to explore. So, for example, it could be Delhi 6, our walled city. It could be some iconic monuments. I perhaps go to Humayun's tomb. I see Red Fort. I see the Parliament. So I walk some of the iconic monuments. Then, are we eating the street food or not? Are we experiencing the Delhi cuisine or not? That again defines how people behave on the street. It defines what you feel. What you feel when you eat local food also defines your experience very strongly. So what you see on the right, the feel is extremely important, and this is not something you can get digitally. So our focus is always on feeling the city, eating its food, and touching its craft. We don't just see the craft online. We go to weavers, we go to shops that sell local craft, and we go and touch and feel the fabric. We experience it, we interact with it. Not just the fabrics, all other craft forms. And I mean, if I don't talk about Delhi, if I talk about, say, Rajasthan, or I talk about the South, there are so many crafts that are specific to those states or those cities. So you must feel the arts and crafts, experience them from close quarters, read about. So the research aspect again becomes very important. Are you reading enough about what was the origin of that craft? What do these motifs really mean? So, for example, if I talk about kalamkari, you will always see peacocks on those motifs, which are drawn with a pen or a kalam. Why are they? Why is the peacock of significance? What is the kind of dye that is used? Why are those colors always muted? Because they used to use natural dyes, to create the kalamkari, to create those colors. And likewise, when you go into Rajasthan, what are the dyes they use? For example, if you study blue pottery, a lot of us think that the blue color comes from, that they're painting blue on a pot. But that's not the case. They use a very specific dye, which when goes into the kiln and gets fired, it takes on that color. So there are reasons why things look the way they do. There are reasons why motifs are the way they are, and it is good to do that as a complete research. Again, it depends, all your how much research you're able to put in is a function of time again. So, we also try and educate our clients that it's important to give us this time in the beginning for us to do our research, to start feeling for the project, and to start owning the project. You should be able to sleep at night and get dreams of this project. Until that it doesn't start manifesting in your dreams, it's not going to manifest into the right design. So all of these things are very important for you to achieve that sense of owning that project. Until you don't do that, that narrative or that brand DNA is not going to come to you. So, post you've walked the streets, you've done all of that, you come back to your studio and you sort of, create this whole mood board of what your experience was like. You can now do it physically. You can actually create a physical mood board, or you can do this in your head, or you can do it digitally. But you should have some sort of a lens which captures the key emotions that you felt, the key materials that you saw, what were the impressions you left with, and put them in that box and leave it there and think about and debate it, and then come back to it and edit it. So the most important step in creating the brand DNA is not just to dump everything into that framework, but it is to look at that framework and edit out your thoughts and say that, okay, it will become a framework only when I have a few objects in it, not everything. I mean, just sort of pulling from what we saw before, there is a bit of the color from the craft, there is a tactility of craftsmanship seen in the wood, there is a translation of a motif, and that motif can perhaps be translated into other materials, say carved into stone or carved into other materials. You want to add an element of luck, so you've brought in a bit of brass, etc., 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 and you build on the story. But is this really the brand DNA? Is this the only way to go about it? Uh, Maybe, maybe not. It depends totally on the designer, how you want to tell your story, how abstracted you want to be, how far in or far out you want to take your design. We've done designs where we've had to literally translate, or we've done designs where we've been completely abstracted. So there are various ways to do this. Or what you could do is come up with what is your big idea for your project. For example, in if you're talking of Delhi, you could perhaps say that my hotel is about the story of Rehan, who is and you can think of anything that you want. So perhaps it's about a young carpenter's son. It's about the toys he makes on his with his father's tools. It's about the food he relishes and the games he enjoys. So what are we then doing? We are taking this large or sort of largish context that we sort of started off with, and then narrowing it down to a smaller lens, so that when we walk into the property and start designing for it on paper, of course we're not going to physically walk into it, as we start designing for it, we are then going to bounce off this big idea that this is Rihan's story, and anything that we put in it has to be his story. It cannot be any other part of Delhi. It cannot be, say, his father's story or his mother's story, or could perhaps be an overlap of his family. But it is not Shah Rukh's story. It is Rihan's story, and then the property should tell his story in its truest sense. And every time you will design or choose a material or draw a line, or define any aesthetic in that space, you will think through the lens of Rehan, through his eyes, and say, okay, does it correlate back to what his story has been or what he has experienced? And then, as you will tick mark against this little big idea of yours, you will realize that things will start tying in together to create something that will be truly authentic to what you have thought of, and it will then become the brand DNA of that space. So, this could be one of the tricks that you could use perhaps to create your narrative. Uh, so, in a nutshell, what are we really doing? We are finding our own unique voice for that project. So, if you see on the left, you see this very complex web, which can, through your journey, which is mimicked through this Chor Bazaar image that you see in the center, through your journey, then become yours. So that complex web then became more simplified in nature. So that process of editing was what was the most powerful process in this journey for you. But that process of editing didn't begin as something that you suddenly thought of as you got the project. It happened to you because you decided to walk Rihan's journey first. You decided to become a part of that city. You decided to experience its stories on the street. You decided to eat its food. You decided to mingle with the local community. You decided to understand its problems and celebrate what was great. And you worked on those. You brought back your stories with you. You looked at them from your lens. And then from those, you picked something that was more meaningful. And you brought something forward that you wanted to tell for that space that you are designing. And that could be anything. And that is when it will become unique to you or to your practice or to your firm, because it will be from your eyes. It will not be from somebody else's Pinterest board or something else that you saw. It will be truly yours. And finding that unique voice is then what makes this project extremely special and makes it yours and unique. So this is how you can create a lasting impact when you build on your personal story or your personal journey as you walk the project through your lens. Quickly, some of the projects that we've done. So this is the iconic Taj Sadade Goa that I spoke of before as well. This was designed by Charles Correa 40 years ago. It's iconic because he's of course a celebrated architect, but it is a modern hotel which was built in the 1980s, but it was built in a cubist form. Yet it was very rooted in the Mediterranean form of design. And it does a lot when a guest is in the hotel. It captures phenomenal views of the sea. Yet there is a sense of discovery, and a sense of not knowing, of the unexpected actually. So when this project came to us, and it's very iconic in nature, celebrated. So we had the choice of completely redesigning it or choosing a path that was midway between redesign and restoration, and we chose that. We decided to restore a lot of it and redesign a very large part of it as well. This is a really large property. It's spread over 30 acres, has 201 rooms. So we've redesigned almost all of it, all the rooms, public areas, etc. Some of the rooms are still to be renovated. Close to 100 are already done, but most of the public areas are now renovated. And I don't have before pictures here, given the paucity of time that we have. But pulling from what we saw on the architecture, we pulled the colors of the Tuscan orange, the ochre yellow, and the striking blues, and we brought them into our interiors. And we told stories of the 1930s or 40s when this hotel was actually conceived, of the Portuguese era. So if you see all the furniture, it is Indo-Portuguese in nature. It dwells from those details, yet it is not that ornate. It still has this modern feel to it. Yet it still sits in its very rooted context. If you see the flooring pattern, it draws from Portuguese street details, vibrant and colorful. The Jaisalmer yellow that you see is actually the flooring color that we got inspired from the lobby. So in the existing lobby, we decided to preserve the Jaisalmer yellow flooring that was present in the lobby. And I don't have those pictures here right now, but you could look this project up. So we preserved that, and then we pulled from it and pulled it into this space, and we created a lobby lounge. The ceiling was cast by us; it didn't exist in this property. But if you see the fenestration and its form, it is again cubist in form. It pulls from the cubist architectural form, of the architecture of this resort. And then if you look at the murals, they create a sense of reveal, of mystery. They are three-dimensional in nature. So all these elements, when they interact with each other, they create that sense of the unexpected, which was core to the idea of Siddharth de Goa when Charles Correa built it. So we didn't just pull from his details, we pulled from his core idea of wanting to create a sense of the unexpected. Another idea that he played with was very closely with was to constantly engage the indoors with the outdoors. So if you see this renovated space again in the same hotel, this is the sea lounge. So we try to again connect out to the view of the outdoors of the beach and the sea beyond, and we pull those colors in. So it almost feels like when you're sitting in this space, you're sort of, almost getting pushed out and absorbing the view beyond. So the colors on the upholstery, the patterns on the floor. I mean, the patterns, of course, are drawn from the Portuguese influence that, was a strong aspect of our story. But the color tonalities pull from the views and the sea. And there is a diffusing of the use of the other color block, ochre yellow and the Tuscan orange, which then remain on the facade, and we move more towards the use of blues in this space. Even if you look at the little detail, the just peeking through, under the fan in the ceiling, that again is influenced by, Portuguese details. So we created a medallion there that was hand painted. If you study the cushion embroideries, those are flowers from Goa that have been embroidered. So every aspect in this hotel tick marked against some of the aspects that we designed as our, to be part of our framework. Colors of Siddharth, color block colors of Siddharth being influenced by the sea, being Indo-Portuguese in influence, and a lot of craftsmanship, artistry, working with local Goan artists. So all these details combined together to create how the space eventually looked. And Goa has this sense of being very laid back, raw. So we wanted to maintain that sense of being raw and a little sense of being unfinished, in this space. Even though there are these finished furniture pieces lying there, there is again the sense of raw. You see a bit of concrete, you see painted walls. You're also very close to the sea. You're close to a marine environment, so there's a lot of salinity in the air. So you can't use wallpapers. You can use only a very restricted palette. You can see the spaces are not air conditioned. So all of that also dictated our choice of materials. Again, in this same space, we designed this bar, which was completely made in cast concrete fascia, cast concrete top. If you look at the back of the bar, it has elements pulling from palm screens. The ceiling is inspired from shacks, yet it has a play of colors. And then you see these diagonal lines, which again are very nautical in nature. Various spaces within the hotel, there is a sense of continuity and it's common thread flowing through them. Yet every space feels and looks distinctive because when you have a guest in the hotel, you don't want every space looking the same as well. I spoke about this project before, Ernst& Young. We designed close to 30,000 square feet for them, for their socializing spaces. I spoke of this, so I'll skip this image. But if you look at the images here in this space, there is a sense of very contrasting to Taj Sada de Goa now. We're designing a space for a global audience. You know, they have people coming in from various geographies. So the space has to feel modern and international, yet it has to feel rooted in India. So if you look at the Gwalior mint that is used in the on the wall in the atrium space here, it is carved in Mughal motifs that are inspired from our monuments, and it is casting shadows as the light falls on it. Yet it is juxtaposed with the use of raw wood and sustainable zinc on the walls, and against it is sitting this large branding video wall that as it lights up, it shows better in this very monolithic white and black space. And again, if you look at the image on the right hand side, you can see that the flooring patterns again are pulling from the inlay patterns that you see in monuments in Rajasthan and other, Havelis and palaces of India. So there is this subtle juxtaposition of India in this to create a space that is very modern Indian in outlook. Also used a lot of brass to create our furniture pieces. Yet the space feels very monumental in scale. It feels global. It feels modern. So there are various ways you can tell your stories. That you don't just have to be, very colorful or very material centered. You can also be very expansive in your, in your detailing and outlook. So just I wanted to show you two very contrasting projects, and within this office space, we designed two different cafeterias as well, which again are very different to the other spaces that guests are walking into. These are then telling deeper tales of being in India. If you look at the top right, you can see motifs from Varli, stick figures, Tasla inspired ceilings, brick inspired patterns. Yet it is very modern to look at. If you look at the image on the left on top, you will see this was a very dhaba inspired cafeteria for them. So you can see charpais, there's an auto in the background, there's a bit of a hillock, there's the sky. So these are breakaway zones. So they deviated from the core concept of being monotonous and black and white. So yeah, so what is the ultimate aim? The ultimate aim is that you create a design that is resolved, that has a certain mission, and you move away from clutter. You move away from being a design that is copying somebody else's work, but creating something that is unique to your own story. And yeah, this is where I would like to leave you. We can move forward to questions that you may have.
All right. It's almost 8 now. So, thank you so much, Vandana. That was really packed with so much inspiration and insights. I think all of us are walking away with new, appreciations of how design can be both like culturally rooted and visually clear. All right, we are now opening the floor for questions. I think we already have a few questions. That's okay with you, right? We are almost at 8. Um, all right. Someone is asking, as an interior designer, you have knowledge of graphic design and anthropometry or textiles or heritage. Is it important for me as a designer to know all of this?
It is important for you to be sensitive to all of this and to be aware of all of it. I don't think there's anybody who can know everything. I mean, I'm not trained in graphics, but I appreciate good graphics. I understand where that is coming from, and they are an integral part of what we design. A lot of it we do in house. We also collaborate with the right set of people. It's important to get the right output. How you get it, who you collaborate with is totally your choice. You have to have an appreciation for all arts. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Someone is asking, what is your primary platform to market yourself? How do you find new clients as a young or fresh designer?
Mm, I think the best way to find clients is to focus on what you have. So I personally have had a practice now for really long, over of course more than a decade, and work has never come to me through marketing. Strangely so, it has always come to me through word of mouth. When one client has spoken well of what you have done, or one client has loved what you've done and they wanted to give you more work, and as people see what you do, they buy into your understanding of or your experiences, and they give you more work. So that's the best way. But of course, you guys have Instagram, you have various other mediums like LinkedIn. You can send out newsletters, you can write articles. So there are various ways to get work. You can talk about your work, you can attend events. So the more you get out, the more you talk about your work, you showcase it, the more people will learn about you, be curious, and perhaps contact you. And that's how you'll generate work.
All right. Someone is asking, how do you figure out what elements of a city or a place you want to choose to incorporate in your design?
Okay, so this is going back to the story that we narrated. So there is no formula for this. It is, as I said, it is your story, and that is where your whole design brain comes in, right? And that is why you are a designer and someone else isn't. So you have to completely remove your blinkers and be completely free when you get into a project. I think the only way to approach this is to approach it with an open mind. When you have an open mind and you are when you have an open mind, you're open to inspiration. When you have a closed mind, when you're trying to quickly solve something or you're trying to look at somebody else's work, then you're trying to put yourself in a silo too early. So that is what I would avoid doing. I would avoid looking at too much imagery. In fact, I would then focus on researching. And when I research, I sort of form an image or a picture of what I want my project to look like, and that should then define what you want to do. So that is how we approach it. And sketch a lot, dabble with a lot of hand sketches, doodle a lot, because that allows your mind to think freely. The more technology you use today, the more it restricts you from thinking. So always your first few attempts should be on pen on paper, or these days you can sketch on iPads. I mean, I use the iPad all the time. So the more you sketch and the more you think, I mean, I prefer to also write and take my notes on paper, because that somehow feels directly connected to my brain. And if you can sift through your thoughts on paper and sketch, and sift through them and walk your places and think through the research that you've done, you'll be able to solve almost 50% of your problems and arrive at a conclusion for yourself. So have your character, and the idea is, after you've done all of that, you must be able to come down to who your character is and what your plot is. That's basically what you're doing, right? So the example of Rehan was exactly that we boiled down to creating a character who was in a certain context, and we were telling his story. And all of this depends on what kind of project you're doing as well. So if you're doing a corporate space, you will be telling different kinds of stories. When you're doing a hotel, your stories will change, and when you're doing a residence, you have to for sure tell stories of your owner or the residents in the house. So that's how you should approach a project.
All right. Dilpreet is asking, as a budding interior designer, what are some thought-provoking exercises I can do to be able to tell such strong stories?
Okay. One of the ways could be that when you look at somebody's work online, these days we all have a tendency to scroll, and that doesn't teach us much, because you're just sifting through an image without even absorbing the nuances of what's gone into it. So if you really want to learn, there are a lot of magazines that feature work, or perhaps online content that features work. Read through the whole thing to understand where did the person originate his idea from, what is the big idea. So try and do that for everything that you look at. And once you do that, you will start understanding where people are coming from in their design, how they are approaching a project, and that from that you will be able to gauge a lot and learn a lot, and that could be a good starting point for you. And alternatively, the best way to learn is to actually try it. Until you don't try it out yourself, you'll never learn. So both the methodologies work really well.
All right. Uh, Next one is, how did you start your own practice? What has been that journey like?
Uh, for me, starting my practice was not intentional initially. I did not think that I wanted to start a practice. So I worked for quite some time. And I think working for, for a studio or for different kinds of studios or clients or not clients really, but in different environments is important because your early learning years teach you a lot. They don't just teach you about projects, they teach you about how to deal with people. They tell you that it's important to co create. It's not always your idea over the others. It's important to, work as a team. So you also learn about materiality. You don't want to be making those mistakes in your first project. So yeah, I would say work for a couple of years and then decide what is that direction that you want to head in, and choose a genre and focus on it, and work towards it. There's no one formula again. I mean, I started my studio journey after I became a mother, so it wasn't very early in my career. And that is when I decided that that gave me the flexibility that I wanted. And of course, I had the drive. It's not an easy journey. It's, to constantly create is not easy, and then to create and to be paid for it is again even tougher. And not to deter anyone, it is a fabulous journey, yet you have to constantly work towards it. It's one thing to be a great designer, but it is another thing to be diligent as well. So diligence is a very, very important aspect of running a practice. And when you start practicing, you're not just designing, you're handling various other aspects of it. Design is a very small part of it, which you will learn eventually of. And I'm sure, and Academy also teaches you about all those aspects. But yeah.
All right. Someone is asking, you are an architect and an interior designer. Do you switch between the two roles, or is interior design a subset of architecture, or vice versa?
I've always seen it as a subset of architecture. I am an architect. So my primary way of looking at things is a more macro approach. Though people have honed their craft in various ways, there are people who have just started interior design and they do a fantastic job at it. But I've seen that the approach tends to vary. The way of telling stories can vary. And I think it's each to his own. Again, there is no real right or wrong here. My approach has always been from the big to small, and not from the small to big.
All right, moving on. How did you build your initial portfolio when you had not when you had no clients?
Mm, I didn't have a portfolio. I mean, of course, I spoke about the work that I did with others, and I very duly credited them. I mean, what irritates me the most is when someone comes to interview with us and claims that what is not theirs is theirs, which is very clearly visible when you talk to them. So I think it's very important to be honest as you're starting out, and people can read through your honesty. They can read through your character. Every time you work for somebody or you run a practice, it's not just about what you do. It's about everything is about trust. Every business that you do with somebody is about trust. So it's a lot more than just being a great designer. It is about having a trustworthy relationship with your client, where he's able to trust you with your project, with his project. He's able to trust you to tell you his story or his expectations, and for you to be able to deliver them. So that is perhaps the defining element that separates a good practice from a practice that perhaps does not succeed. So, to be able to imbibe that level of trust, you have to come from a place of being authentic and being completely ethical, I would say. Those two things become extremely important as you move into running a practice.
All right, moving on. Neha is asking, what will be your words of wisdom for success to interior designers who are just starting?
I would say think of the why. The why is very important every time you do a project. Why you want to do something. If you can answer the why, then you'll definitely do a great job. So think of your whys for sure.
All right. Someone is asking how to apply for internships with no portfolio.
I think if you can display what if you can so if you, for example, if you're applying to Studio 4, uh, we would love to know how you can contribute to what we do, and how will you tell us that. The best way is to look through our work, to understand where we are coming from, reach out to us, and genuinely think about how you can be a part of our team. And nobody is hiring a superhero. Everybody wants somebody who can collaborate, who can be a part of the process. So you have to be genuine, and when you're genuine, it always shows. So if you're genuine, you show genuine interest. I'm sure even if you don't have a portfolio, people don't really care. I don't care. I care about the person. I don't care about the portfolio as much.
All right. Someone is asking how do you stay updated with design trends and continue learning?
Um, I mean, today this is not difficult at all. When trends are being thrown at us, even if you don't want to look at it. Yeah, but there are various mediums. For me, when I attend events, I get a closer feel of what's happening vis-a-vis when I'm just looking at things online. So I make it a point to go for some of the marquee events, attend panels, listen to people talking, interact with people, um, and read a lot, and read through journals, magazines. That concern our domain, because when you're in a practice, you get very little time to read. There's too much going on at all times. So it's important to choose something that will inspire you. And I don't limit myself to just design when I'm reading. I have various interests like wellness or fashion or art. And I think everything influences what I do. And I'm sure it's the same for everybody here. So please don't limit yourselves. Always keep your horizon expansive. Read about everything, explore everything. If you go for long walks, want to explore nature, you will see that all of that will define the work that you will do eventually, and it will become closer to the person that you are. So don't ever try and be somebody else. Celebrate yourself. Listen to who you are. Listen to your inner voice, and that will dictate, what you can be eventually.
All right. Someone is asking, do you use any latest apps in iPad for design?
I've been using Morpholio a lot. I think that's been my go-to app for a while now. And then I think Canva is great for making presentations. Thankfully, I don't have to do the hard work anymore. So I can come back to you on this answer later. But yeah,
Or
I use Morpholio a lot for sketching.
okay. Someone is asking, in space, how can I include well-being?
Okay. So well-being again is an emotion. You're trying to evoke a strong emotion of creating a sense of calm. And we've also designed well-being spaces which are not primarily the traditional route of being well-being. But I'll talk about the traditional route. So the general tendency is to be biophilic. But I feel so when we say biophilic, we mean materials that are close to nature, that invoke a sense of being close to nature, that mimic, say, a certain circadian rhythm, say through the lighting techniques that you will use, uh, uh, and that put the guest in a certain mood that would bring all their senses in a sense of calm. And there could be various ways of doing it. Of course, biophilia is a celebrated way. But you could also again tell stories in wellness spaces that belong to the cities by merging biophilia and the context together. So yeah, these are some of the ways that you could use, perhaps.
All right. Someone is asking, what is your advice to young interior designers?
Um, I think I've already spoken about this.
Yeah, you can skip this one.
Your why, figure out what you really, why do you want to do what you want to do, what aspect interests you, and see how you want to go about it. Do you want to work for somebody? Is your calling of, practicing on your own? What is your calling? Figure it out, but don't rush towards the practice because it requires a lot of hard work. So I would say always hone your skill and then get into practice.
All right. We have the last question. Someone is asking, I'm unable to find design for on IG. Can you share the IG handle and what's the story behind the name design for?
Okay, I get asked this a lot. So we design, we cater to four aspects of design: architecture, interiors, graphics, and branding. And that's why the Roman 4. So we stand for Studio 4 Designs, and our name gets confused a lot. We also get called IV, and is my name again, so I don't mind that. But yeah, our name is Studio 4 Designs. I think if you look for that, you should be able to find it on Instagram.
All right. Thank you so much again, Vandana, for your time and effort that you've dedicated to prepare and lead this masterclass. And I'm really sure that your expertise has added significant value to our series. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and for your energy and your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
bye.